The wine fell like a slow, red wound across the white uniform, spreading from the waitress's shoulder to her waist. And in that instant, the entire restaurant seemed to hold its breath. The stain was deep and unforgiving, like an accusation that could not be taken back, and the woman wearing it did not flinch or cry out. She simply stood still, eyes lowered, hands clenched, as humiliation washed over her more painfully than the cold liquid soaking into the fabric. Around her, crystal glasses glittered under soft lights, expensive laughter hovered in the air, and power sat comfortably at the center table, unaware that it had just collided with something far stronger than cruelty. Before the story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of humility, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel The Kindness Thread. Your support keeps stories like this alive. The restaurant was one of the most exclusive in the city, a place where reservations were whispered about like secrets, and the menu prices were enough to make most people glance away in disbelief. The woman serving tables that evening looked like she belonged anywhere but there. Her posture was straight, her movements calm and practiced, and there was a quiet dignity in the way she carried herself, as if the uniform was a temporary disguise rather than a permanent identity. Most guests barely noticed her, too busy admiring the architecture, the art on the walls, and the status that came with sitting there. But one woman noticed her very clearly, not because of who she was, but because she represented something to be stepped on. The CEO's girlfriend had arrived wrapped in designer confidence, dripping entitlement with every step. She had learned long ago that money could bend rooms and silence people, and she wielded that knowledge without mercy. The spill had not been an accident in the way accidents are born of clumsiness or surprise. It was careless, dismissive, born from impatience and the belief that consequences were for other people. As the wine soaked into the waitress's uniform, murmurs rippled across nearby tables. Some diners looked away, uncomfortable but unwilling to intervene. Others watched with thinly veiled curiosity, eager to see how far the cruelty would go. The CEO himself barely glanced up from his phone, accustomed to scenes like this, accustomed to people being reduced in his presence. The waitress apologized softly, though the words felt heavy in her mouth, not because she believed she was wrong, but because the world had taught her that apologies were often the price of peace. What no one in that room understood was that this woman had once stood on the other side of power. Years earlier, she had built this restaurant from nothing but a dream and a stubborn refusal to quit. She had slept in her car during renovations, negotiated with suppliers who laughed at her, and worked 16-hour days until her hands shook from exhaustion. When success finally came, it came with enemies, betrayals, and a lawsuit that nearly destroyed everything she had built. To protect her investment during a sensitive transition, she had chosen to step back, to observe quietly, to work anonymously among her staff to understand what numbers and reports could never show her. Tonight was meant to be another quiet lesson. Instead, it became a reckoning. As the CEO's girlfriend continued to bask in her dominance, the waitress absorbed every look, every whisper, every second of discomfort with a stillness that unsettled those who truly paid attention. Her eyes moved slowly across the room, taking in the faces of her guests, the art she had personally selected, the lighting she had agonized over until it was perfect. This place was her heart made visible, and seeing it turned into a stage for humiliation hurt more than any legal battle ever had. Yet she did not lash out. She did not raise her voice. She understood something the cruel never do, that real power does not need to announce itself. The turning point came quietly. The waitress excused herself, not in defeat but with purpose. In the back office, she changed out of the stained uniform and into a tailored jacket that carried a weight no fabric could hide. When she returned, the room felt different, as if the air itself had shifted. Conversations slowed. Heads turned. There was something in her walk now that commanded attention, not through fear but through presence. Staff members straightened instinctively, recognizing a familiar authority they had felt but never seen so clearly. The truth unfolded without drama, without raised voices or grand gestures. It arrived like dawn, slow and undeniable. Faces drained of color as understanding settled in. The CEO finally looked up, confusion giving way to disbelief, then to something dangerously close to panic. His girlfriend's confidence cracked, her laughter dying as the reality of her actions sank in. The woman she had dismissed, humiliated, and treated as invisible, was the very person who owned the ground beneath her feet, the vision behind every elegant detail she had admired minutes earlier. But the most powerful moment did not come from revenge or public shamming. It came from restraint. The owner did not seek to embarrass anyone. She spoke of standards, of respect, of the responsibility that comes with privilege. She spoke of how easy it is to forget humanity when money dulls empathy, and how quickly tables can turn when arrogance blinds judgment. Her words were calm, steady, and devastating in their truth. The room listened, not because they were forced to, but because they felt the weight of what she represented. The consequences were swift and fair. The CEO's contract was reconsidered, his leadership questioned not because of business metrics, but because character had finally entered the conversation. His girlfriend left the restaurant smaller than when she had entered, carrying a lesson she would never forget. The staff watched in silence, many of them seeing hope in a way they had never dared to before. They saw that dignity could survive humiliation, that kindness did not mean weakness, and that justice could arrive without cruelty. As the evening wound down, the restaurant returned to its rhythm, but something fundamental had changed. The owner walked through her dining room with renewed purpose, greeting her staff not as an overseer, but as a guardian of the culture she wanted to protect. She understood now why she had needed to experience this night from the shadows. It had shown her the truth no boardroom ever could. It had reminded her why she started and what kind of leader she chose to be. If this story has touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness still matters and humility can change lives, please take a moment now to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the Kindness Thread.